Hi, welcome to Polyphonic Press. I'm Jeremy Boyd, and today I'm going to be looking at the second album from Foo Fighters, entitled The Color and the Shape. Here we go. So this is Foo Fighters' second album and the first recorded with a full band. The lyrical content is mostly about Dave Grohl's divorce that he was going through at the time and sort of dealing with being married and going through separation and divorce and kind of the feelings that come up when you're trying to deal with that. Foo Fighters' original drummer, William Goldsmith, was still a member of the band at the time they were recording the album, but most of the drum tracks were actually performed by Dave Grohl. It was suggested by producer Gil Norton that Goldsmith didn't really have the right feel or the right rhythm for the songs and didn't really quite fit into the way that the drums should go. This led to William Goldsmith's departure from the band and was replaced later by Taylor Hawkins. The album had three very successful singles, including Monkey Wrench, My Hero, and arguably their most popular track, Everlong. Although this album has elements that sounds like it was recorded straight out of the late 90s, because it was, it stands out amongst most of the other rock that was being played on the radio, because this is really coming from a genuine place. They're not trying to sell records or make a lot of money. They're really just trying to make really great music. The production on this album is a huge step up from their debut album. They recruited producer Gil Norton to sort of steer the band in a direction that was a little more polished but still had their foot in really great rock music. Although the production is a little more glossy, it doesn't sound like the intention of the songs were lost at all in the sort of big drums and bombastic guitars and things like that. They just kind of sort of worked to make the songs a little more accessible but still didn't really lose the integrity of the actual song. There aren't a lot of blistering guitar solos on the songs. Most of the guitar work is very rhythmic, and I think a lot of that has to do with Dave Grohl being a really great drummer. His sort of brain is wired to think in terms of rhythm and not necessarily come up with melodic guitar parts. And that kind of sound has sort of become the staple and sort of the signature sound of Foo Fighters. I think the defining song on this album is probably My Hero. It's usually the song that people think of when they think of this album, or sometimes when they think of Foo Fighters they tend to think of this song. Everlong could arguably also fit into that category, but it's more of a sort of slower ballad type of song, although it does have some hard guitars in there. But I think My Hero is the song that really sounds like this album. It really has the guitars and the sort of bombastic drums that you really associate with this band. Although it does have those huge instrumental elements, I think the heart of this song is really honest and thought-provoking lyrics. The song is about Pete Stahl, who's the singer of the band Scream, which Dave Grohl was a member before he joined Nirvana. The song really works on many different levels, and I think that's the appeal of not just this track, but the whole album overall. I think my favorite song on this album is the closing track, New Way Home. It's a fast-paced sort of song that has a lot of elements, including 60s pop with the heavy use of tambourine, which is kind of an odd choice for this album, but it still manages to work. The one thing I really like about this song is towards the end, it kind of really breaks down almost to a full stop, and then it slowly builds back up and builds the tension into an almost punk rock feel. I think the reason that I like this song so much is because it has a lot going on. It has a lot of dynamics, and it really keeps you engaged and doesn't really slow down to the point where you feel bored or doesn't drag on or anything like that. It really kind of holds your interest throughout the whole thing. I think it's a really great closer to the album, and I think it's one of the most underrated songs in Foo Fighters' catalog. Foo Fighters are one of my favorite bands. They're actually the first concert I ever went to see, and this is really the album that made me a fan of this band. I really don't think there's a weak song on here, and it's a must-have for any fan of 90s hard rock music. If you're unfamiliar with Foo Fighters, The Color and the Shape is definitely a good place to start. So let me know what you guys think of this album. If you'd like to suggest a classic album for me to look at, please leave that in the comments. Be sure to subscribe so you know when I post new videos. And you can check us out on Twitter and Facebook. And that's about it. Take it easy.